amount of time. Oh my gosh, we're being live streamed. Woo! So for whatever reason, if you are brand new or if you're back after a long hiatus, please shout yourself out in the chat, say hello. Let me turn on my captions. We took a 2-week break for the holidays. I went to Mexico. Can you see a little tan? Maybe not really. I didn't get sunburned at all though, which was like a massive, massive accomplishment for me. And we are back now. We are back, and I'm so excited to spend time with you. I myself am going to be spending a lot more time on my personal writing practice this year. Last year was all about proving that I could make it in the business world, and this year is all about expressing myself. As I always say, feeling my feelings, writing my words. I think that what we're doing together is improving the world in some way that we may never see in our lifetimes, or maybe we will, but it feels like we're doing something good here. We're doing something. So without any further ado, I'm going to get us into this because, we only have a half an hour together each week, so we better make the most of it. I mentioned in my message that the theme today is news. And the reason for that is, it's been fun to see the news at the end of the year and people sharing what their year in review was and all these different things, announcements. But I'm from California, and there's been these horrible storms in California, and people started reaching out to me. Oh, are your parents okay? What's going on? I'm seeing the news. And then I talked to my parents, and they show on the front page of the New York Times, it shows this scene that looks like the entire city of Sacramento has been wiped off the map, just water everywhere, just people in kayaks flowing down the streets. And my dad shows me his front yard. It's totally dry. It's like the way that they angled the pictures. There's catastrophic stuff happening in California and some really messed up stuff, but they represented Sacramento as looking like it was this epicenter of flooding. And it's just not right now. It was one specific park that flooded, and that's like kind of it. And I was thinking about how the news is like that. It's kind of like you think that you know what's happening because you keep in touch with the news, but we don't actually. We kind of need to make our own news. There's this funny quote from Jerry Seinfeld that says, it's amazing the amount of news that happens in the world every day always just exactly fits in the newspaper. As poets and writers, we have to know what to edit and be aware of those things. So without further ado, let's play with some ideas about the news. So actually, to reference the New York Times again, I swear that they're not like sponsoring this this edition. They actually have this really cool little article that you can swipe through to see different ways that you can use the newspaper, news website, whatever you want, to make different found poems. They all basically break down into reading through something, pulling the words that are interesting to you and connecting them in an interesting way. So I wanted to open up with the opportunity to do that. You can choose any one of these. There's a golden shovel, there's blackout poem, there's found poetry, there's a cento poem, and all of the instructions are right there. Or while I was researching this, because I always love to research these things, I found a website called Poets Reading the News. And these are, I don't actually know how often this is updated, but it started in 2016, and it's news stories as told by poets. And that is really, really interesting to me. So there's 2 different ways you can go. I'm going to split the time into 2 parts so that you can try both if you want. But I think I'm going to personally start with actually looking at some news stories on my website of choice, or you could even like pull a magazine out, cut things out or highlight things, or use your digital interface and try one of these found poem things, and then see what news story actually stands out to you. And we're going to have the opportunity for you to rewrite a news story from a poetic perspective. So let's see, how much time do we have? I always love to have my timer. Oh my gosh, the intro only took 6 minutes, even though I went on and on. That's amazing. So to save 5 minutes for the end, we basically have about 9 minutes per section. So I'll just do 8 minutes each just to make sure we have plenty of time. So 8 minutes for this first section. You can do found poetry per that link there, or you're probably familiar with it as well, or tell a news story of any kind you want from your own perspective, your own narrative voice. 8 minutes. Enjoy.
Can I just ask what the I'm sorry I'm late. I was in another meeting.
No worries. I actually just reshared the theme and what we're working on in the chat. I'll share it again. Oh, actually, a lot of people.
Yeah, I saw it was news when I got the original email.
Yes, awesome. I'm glad you received the email. I have quotes and the 2 different writing kind of directions you can going in the chat again, basically blackout or golden shovel style with a link to explain that. And another interesting link about how you can tell a news story from a poetic perspective. So we're going to have time for both. We have 4 minutes left on this first half, and then we have another 8 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, time's up. I got so into this found poetry thing that I'm in a trance almost. This is really interesting. I haven't done one of these in a very long time, so I hope you're enjoying. So we're going to have another 9 minutes. You can continue with the style that you already tried. You can try something totally new. You can edit what you already found. Just keep vibing with your words. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. Okay, time is up. And a question just came up in the chat saying, this is from Colleen. Etymology wise, is the word news based on the directions north, east, west, south? Which is such a cool question and totally something I would think, because I love thinking about where words come from. So I just quickly Googled it, and no, it does just come from Latin and Old French, etc. Nova, new things. So it's pretty simple, but I like that. I like where your head's at. So as always, and actually for the 1 or 2 new people who are here for the very first time ever, we spend the last 5 minutes with time to share what we wrote. So you can raise your physical hand if you're on video, or you can raise your Zoom emoji hand if you'd like to be called on to share. And, keep it short, like 30 seconds or a minute. Don't read like a whole novel or anything. And if you're going to share anything that's like particularly distressing or needs a content warning, let us know what it might be about. And otherwise, I just can't wait to hear what you've got. Who wants to be the first share of the new year? Finley, yes. Go ahead.
The man, and it's always a man, said that the sceptred isle was being invaded. Armed with hunger and desperation, people crammed onto small boats, paid with all they have and sometimes more to reach these wave-lapped shores. There had been many casualties, truth and humanity amongst the first. Why were they coming? What did they expect? As if that wasn't obvious enough. Irony has been a casualty too, ironically. But how had people got here in the first place if not by boats? Small and open, probably. I thought of our own declaration, how we had travelled from Scythia, fleeing persecution and violence through the Mediterranean Sea and past the Pillars of Hercules to find a place we could live in peace and security. But that's not news, nor is it old news. It's not even history, it's myth.
Whoa, yes. Wait, was that inspired by a current news story?
There are many people fleeing wars. They end up crossing the English Channel and they land in the south shores of England, and it upsets people as if it's not obvious why they're trying to find safety.
Yeah.
And in the Scottish history, we were fleeing persecution in probably the 6th century BC, and we remember that, but forget to apply it to new people.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. That should be shared, especially with this political climate. I mean, everyone needs to be remembered of that. Thank you, Finley. Melissa, and then Francine.
Hi.
Hi.
This is my first time,
I was
but
going to say, I don't recognize you. Welcome.
well, thank you. Well, I took it in a slightly different direction because I have been semi-sworn off the news, and opening headlines did not do me any good. So this is a short conversation. I think it has another verse coming yet, but here's what it is. I'm not here to sell you. I'm just coming by to tell you I never really, really, have you seen the news today? There are wars, fires, floods, and famines, and those governments are jamming can't read my own writing, sorry.
No worries.
All the airways with important things to say. Not. What? Not. What? Breathe. I don't understand. Let me lay it out. The truth is they are selling with the triggers they are telling, and the news is now a channel on TV that must compete for your attention, and we're afraid of intervention for the precedent of speech no longer free. In the heat of this great battle, we are herded just like cattle, but that's not the way that life is meant to be. And there's going to be one more verse yet, but I didn't have time.
Oh my gosh, the rhyming and everything too. That could be like a Dr. Seuss style book on media literacy for kids. Like, that's just brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Francine, go ahead. You're still muted. Oh, no, you're still muted. We can't hear you.
I was going to say, if you could save the chat for me, because my computer might go down because we're having a lot of really bad weather conditions, and I'm in the Bay Area in California.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a piece that I started, and it had to do with me doing a genealogy search for my mom's property back in Texas, and it just became this whole big thing. And anyway, and a relative asked me for a picture of my grandfather, and the picture was faded, unfortunately. So anyway, this locked into this piece. So it's called Grandfathers and Granddaughters. Buried in Love Cemetery, is that your last word, grandfather? You left us with one of the greatest mysteries on earth that contemplatives have meditated upon from generation to generation. So tall you were at Mom's wedding, like a tower in an hourglass, the statuesque body of a strong, stocky farmer who could lift great weights in a single bound. You were somebody's hero. Slightly faded pictures of you are all that's left in black and white, a stark contrast to a man in a suit, walking his beautiful 19-year-old daughter in a jazzy silk bodice dress, holding cascading flowers down the length of her gown. I picked up your trail on the Silk Road to your farm in Marshall, Texas, east through the internet, as if everything east is somehow cursed or trickstered, while it took west to travel east from California.
Oh, wow. That is just incredible. I can't
So
wait.
anyway, I'm still working on it, but that's
You could write a whole like prose memoir that way, or biography. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And usually I have to end right at the 30 mark, but I don't have anything after this. So let's make room for these other two folks that have raised their hands too. And if you need to head out, go ahead. And I will see you next week, but I would love to hear from Kate and then Lynette too. Kate, the room that you're in is incredible. You look like you're in an art installation.
It's a quilt, actually. Thanks. I was kind of just being silly with this. I did a blackout poem from an article about the lottery. I wrote, tonight's Jack history has reached a record. 2 fever balls won, and we are thankful. It could be nice to grow a new member to encourage players' entertainment.
Wow, that is awesome. I love just making those type of stories just turn so surreal and just bend your brain a little bit. Fever balls. Lynette, how about you? Go ahead and unmute. Oh, it's not. Not working? Yeah, you're still muted. So strange. Okay, well, come back next week and then we can, okay, good. What were you say, Carol?
Well, I'm in the UK. I haven't written poetry for ages, but I could just give you a flavor of what I was doing.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, climate emergency. Who knew? Start of 2023, lots of talk, records being broken. Here we reached 40 degrees. Pakistan flooded, 30 million affected. Politicians cracking down on protests here. Not just the climate. We need our rights to protest, back altogether. Strikes abound across the land. Today it's ambulance workers, but there was still some on duty for emergency call-outs. The rail strikes drag on too, but it didn't stop me from getting to the birthday party in Cirencester. I went by coach instead, and getting home was even quicker than had I taken the train.
I love that twist. That's amazing. I'm constantly thinking about this balance of being aware of the chaos in our society and also like wanting to go to my friend's birthday party, and thinking about conveniences and just simple things. So it's a beautiful.
It was a family. It was a big birthday, 70th birthday, and not everyone could get to the party because some of them had COVID, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. That's still.
It was pouring with rain. I didn't go into that. It was absolutely pouring with rain. We were in a caravan park holiday, there for three nights. So we were all swapping accommodation because the original people couldn't get there, and we had our highs and lows there.
Definitely. Hey, Lynette, I just saw that you came back in. Looks like you're unmuted. Do you want to share yours?
It's a limerick. It's so fast. Excuse my voice.
Do it.
Week 3 of COVID.
Oh,
McCarthy was desperate to wear the crown, to be a house leader of great renown. He was willing to have no power in exchange for a throne and tower. All hail the loser king of all the clowns. That's all. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you came back in and read that. That news story has obviously just tickled so many of our senses of ironic humor over the past couple of days. Well, thank you. Oh, Kate said at first I thought the coughing was part of the poem. Well, I hope that you feel better and everyone just stay safe in our wild winter weather. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week with another fun writing exercise. Happy New Year.